So, very first question, Imtiaz, मैं वापस आऊंगा. Generally, your characters are running away. Here, they want to return. So, how did that happen?
Yeah, because this is the story of a person, but it's also the story of a nation, so to speak. And I mean, to begin with, I must say that I feel very fortunate to be able to make this film, and I feel lucky that this story came to me, and it came to me because I've been hearing about the partition for all my life, and this is looking at the events of partition, but through a lens of reminiscence, through a lens of 78 years later, when, so to speak, all the hurly-burly is done, when the battle is lost and won, what is it that remains? What is it that will remain in the mind of a person who is now unable to pass on, to kind of exit the stage of the world without making some sort of a change to the events of what happened in 1947. So what I think remains is the intensely personal that was so private that it was not even worth sharing with anybody. But over a period of a lifetime, those very personal, immature feelings of early romance acquire a sense of, you know, like become the most important things in somebody's mind. And continually we have people who have, even issues of memory, never forget their childhood or their past or their early romances or their college times, and often find themselves preoccupied and in that time, you know. And there are so many cases, and in the texture of the Indian society, there has been so much influence of not only the 1947 partition, but also migration in a large scale. I feel that migration is the story of this century for the whole world.
True.
And for us, the most significant event that I feel ever happened in the Indian subcontinent was the partition of the country, which has affected maximum numbers of people. It has affected them badly. It has also affected them very strangely. But in retrospect, 78 years later, as I said, when many things are forgotten, what is intensely remembered is the tenderness of early youth and romance.
That's true.
To which we return when we go to 1947. So it is such a story.
But was partition something you always wanted to sort of explore in your cinema? I think you're doing it for the first time.
I am.
आजकल में था young love, like past and present love, but it was not partition, I think.
This is not about past and present love at all. It is about one love. It is like that Jamaican saying one love. It is only about that one thing. There is nothing to compare it with the present times. There is the presence of the present times because the events of the past are being looked at through a contemporary lens.
And that's where Diljit's character comes.
That is where Diljit's character. It's like the cinema is happening to him, and it's through him that we explore all of what had happened in the 1947 era.
You've repeated actors like Ranveer, of course. I think Saf also, but this is first time that you're working with an actor back to back. So was this idea something that was fermenting while you were making Chamkila, or was it later that you sort of decided that this is what we want to do next?
So yes, I have worked with Ranveer and Deepika in films, more than one time, with Randeep Huda also. However, never back to back. And while I was working with Diljit in Chamkila, I did not although I was thinking about this story, but I hadn't thought of Diljit playing in it. It is only when Chamkila got over and then I finished writing this Main Vaapas Aaunga and then I was casting in it, then casting for it, then it kind of came around that who better can play this character than Diljit. And then when I spoke to Diljit, the vibe was so matching. You know, it was just like in the case of Chamkila, perhaps even more. I felt that the suitability, the importance of the subject for Diljit also personally and socially is too much more, maybe even more than Amar Singh Chamkila. So
Yes.
yeah, really. I mean, we know that, like now when I look at Chamkila, I feel that Chamkila could not have been made if Diljit wasn't there. But perhaps even more suited he is to this part because of, you know, who he is, where he comes from, what his social and, you know, where he's derived from, so to speak, and where he's going and where he's at and how he thinks, you know. So very, very emotionally connected. So once I spoke to him about the story, there was no way that we were going back from working together. And it is not out of any other reason, but the fact that it is a film that both of us felt very excited to do together, that we are working together.
It's quite a casting coup, I would say, to
Yeah,
have it done.
absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I did not know what would happen if he'd said no. And but thankfully he liked some of my previous films and he liked Chamkila and he was very keen to you know, explore working together. And as you know, there is no actor like Nasiruddin Shah. And I was very excited by the prospect of having him play a Sikh, a turbaned Sikh, because I didn't remember him playing that part ever. He's probably done every role, every community under the sun, but I didn't remember him playing a Sardarji. So I was very excited about that, and he was also very excited about that. So we have carved his character around, you know, so around the person that is remembering the olden times, and it's
And Vedang and both Sharvari have quite a presence, I would say.
these two, you know, working. All these actors are so different from each other. We had kind of four actors, and all of them are so different from each other. Diljit is such a, like, he is a very his life is a very non-actor's life. His concerns and the way he is a very, like, he's not an actor in the race, you know. He has his own world, his own life, and his own ambitions. Sharvari and Vedant both are at an age where they are very, very hungry, and they also are in a similar manner as Nirvair's character, looking for meaning and trying to do better and trying to explore the depths of their own talents. You know, so then I felt that these are such actors that I feel that I have to be on my toes while working with them, because they have the energy to, you know, rehearse again and again, to want to discuss more and more, to make sure that everything about the film, not only their parts, but everything about the film comes out in the most beautiful way. So
they are true collaborators in that sense.
They are true collaborators, and I feel that not only Sharvari and Vedang, but many young actors that I meet are like that, and they can actually draw out a new face for Indian cinema. I hope that I think that this is some sort of a turning point of Indian cinema, which we will retrospectively discover this maybe 10 years.
Dhurandhar is suddenly doing very well. So maybe there will a whole onslaught of action movies, but your film is a romantic drama, and we haven't seen a Imtiaz Ali romantic drama. I was discussing with Mohit that there is a nostalgia for Imtiaz Ali kind of love also in the audience.
I don't think there is and there should not be an Imtiaz Ali kind of a film. I would be happy as a director that I can surprise the audience a little bit, and I can surprise myself a little bit by the films that I make. But I also don't feel that the audience is so strategic in deciding what it wants to like. I feel the audience of this country wants good cinema, entertaining cinema, and they, of course, there is this extra thing to go to the theater now, because we are bringing audience back into the habit of coming to the theater. So of course this is a challenging time in this way. By default, people come to the auditorium is no longer the scene. They need to feel the impulse to say मैं वापस आऊंगा cinema theater में. So I feel every movie should do that, and every movie should be thankful to any movie that does it. Like, I'm very thankful to Dhurandhar, I'm very thankful to Sayyara, and happy about the fact that these films are drawing the audience in. And I don't think that, like when Dhurandhar was being made, I'm sure they were assaulted by all kinds of insecurities about, oh, this is not working or that is not working. But now, since that has worked, it does not mean that only that will work.
That's true. That's true.
Anything which is entertaining, anything that is good and meaningful will work.
In this film, Diljit is also part of the music.
Yeah.
He was part of Chamkila, but he didn't sing a song that was not non-Chamkila, I guess.
So in Chamkila, we had this very ironical dilemma that one, Diljit is working in a film so closely with A R Rahman, and while he is playing a singer and it is a musical, but he is not singing any song of Rahman. So in a way, in a pure manner, he is not collaborating with A R Rahman. They are not making a song together, and we could not really come out of that checkmate, because Diljit's voice was the voice of Chamkila. So we could not compromise to the situation that there is a song which has Chamkila's voice in it, which is the reason, because all the songs are kind of from the author's point of view, from the film's point of view, and there are a separate set of songs that Chamkila is singing, and we see Chamkila singing, and those are sung by Diljit, but they are not Rahman compositions. So we did that whole one film, and we did not actually have a chance to do what we now have a chance of doing, which is in Main Vaapas Aaunga, there is a song finally, which we are doing together, where Diljit combines with A R Rahman, with Irshad, and we produce a song. And that
is Kya Kamal Hai.
Which is Kya Kamal Hai.
Which is already doing Kamal in the teaser, I think.
Yeah, but people have liked, what they have heard. I think they have heard a minute and a half, a little bit of the song, but we are soon going to do the entire song and release it. So is it only one song, or Diljit is singing more? No, Diljit is singing this one song in the film. And we wanted to keep it that way because this one song is extremely significant to what the film is trying to say, what Diljit is trying to say in the film, what all the characters are trying to say, and which is that there is a lot of there's strength in hope beyond despair, and that there is a silver lining in every cloud, and kya kamal hai. So there is that injection of positivity, and so we felt that it can be singular. I mean, this one song was enough, and for all of us to feel that we've done enough, together with Diljit and Rahman for this album. Imtiaz, I'm going back to the question of Partition. Was this something that you always wanted to do? Oh yeah. Yes, And what was your interest? Like, when did your interest spark, and did you read literature and all? Because there is a certain time when you really want to know about what happened. There was a period. Every story that I read of Saadat Hasan Manto, every story that I read of Ismat Chughtai and Quretullah Haider, and many other Indian writers, I was extremely intrigued about the partition. But I must say that more than the stories, the accounts that I've heard from people of what happened during partition left me extremely intrigued about what was this period of drama, which, as I realized after I grew up, it took the lives of so many millions of people, and it rendered so many more millions of people homeless on either sides of the border. If you were to try to figure out which community got harmed more, it's a very tough competition. So you can't even say that it was a genocide, one-sided, right? However, the fact that so much damage happened, it's very, very influential in the way our country has been formed, because it was almost like the independence of the country happened at the partition. So it's like these two are interconnected events. However, when I heard the accounts of people talking about that time, there was a glint of fondness in their eyes. They would always talk about their homes, they would always talk about their friends, and progressively, as more and more time went by, and more as I started working in Punjab, with films like Jab We Met or Chamkila, or before that Love Aajkal, or around that time in Highway, and even in Delhi in Rockstar, or most of my films I've shot in that period, in that area, Delhi and Himachal and Punjab, and so many of my friends, their families have old people that talk about those times of the past with that glint of their eyes, almost a mischief of missing, and not only missing, but also enjoying those memories, living in those times. Some of them are, lose memory. And when they do lose memory, they lose it page by page from the right to the left. They remember their pasts. And and then one wonders, like I got so intrigued and I heard all kinds of accounts. So these stories that I've heard from people made me really interested in making a film. However, I never wanted to make a film on the partition times if I had nothing unique to say. I did not want to report an incident. I did
Yeah,
not
that
want to
has
be
been
a
done.
journalist, in this way. I realized that, and it's only now working in Amar Singh Chamkila did I realize that I actually have something to say about this time. And the inspiration of the story came through many, many small stories. And one of them was about an old woman who was on her deathbed many, many years later. And she had lost her memory and she was dying. And 78 years have happened since partition. And she was only obsessed in asking everybody, have you put the doll in the sandook? That is because when she was traveling, she went through the insecurity while she was crossing the border on foot. And
As a
while
child, she
people were
just wanted
dying
a
around,
doll.
all that little girl at the time of partition was thinking is my doll coming along or have I forgotten it in the house? And now she doesn't even remember her family. But she is trying to find out whether the doll is with her or not. So these are the kind of stories that have happened, and they are deeply significant and human, and they are extremely entertaining, and they are spoken with love and romance and the colors of cinema in a cinematic fashion with song and dance. But they also portray in the outfocused background the events that caused it, which is the partition.
You want to surprise the audience as a director, but do you believe in having a signature? I think I've asked this question पहले भी शायद मैंने पूछा
Yeah,
है.
but maybe you're asking it that have I changed my mind? No, I don't. I prefer not to have a signature or a scent. There are things that I want to do, and there are things that I realize I do repeatedly, and those are small or big things, and the smaller things are how titles appear in my film, for instance, and things like that. And that comes from my own interest of seeing films and in the theater enjoying titles playing out in a certain way. But I would love it if my films don't have my scent. So that, but of course, I want to, of course, I want people to deeply enjoy and emotionally enjoy my film. and I hope that they do more and more, because I feel that I'm also discovering a language. I'm discovering a certain way of telling a story. You know, I think that I've made different kinds of films, or films in different ways, in trying to also learn how to speak in the easiest way to the maximum numbers of people. And all of, so I think that I might be learning that and coming out with that. So yeah, emotional, it should throw you into ecstasy, and it should also make you feel, and it should also have a sense of a philosophical background, you know, because I think Indians don't get satisfied with a meal that does not serve philosophy in it. We can't do without philosophy.
It's in regular sayings. Yeah.
Yeah, we have depth. We are
Hmm.
unlike any other people. We have depth.
With this film, Imtiaz, what are your hopes and dreams? Because, like you said, Sayara and Dhurandhar have done well, so it should do well. Dhurandhar is a different kind of story about India, Pakistan. This is a completely different kind of a story. So, what are your hopes
Yeah,
and
my
dreams?
hopes are that it brings some sort of it opens the hearts of people. It
Hmm.
my hope is that it reaches them emotionally.
Hmm.
And as I said that, um, you know, I'm happy and very fortunate. I consider myself fortunate to be able to make a film on this, which is the, according to me, most important event of the history of the subcontinent. And it's not as though my mission is to bring light to it, no, but it is just to embrace it and to not pretend that it didn't happen. There are, see, as I said, displacement is the story of the century, and everywhere, all over the world, this is happening, and you just have to put on the TV any day, unfortunately, to see it happening all
Unfortunately.
around us. And without going into more detail, and the last song that we are doing, which I felt is significant enough to be the only song that Diljit does with Rahman sir in this film, it combines partition with the overall universal displacement of today. So kya kamal hai is actually connecting the event of 78 years back to the events of today that a contemporary character like Nirvair is going through, in order for him to even understand what is going on. You see, that's why, that's the significance of this song, which is why we are, you know, so gung ho, or so we put it out first. Like, this is really the voice of the film. So,